Most lifters waste their time in the gym by doing few random exercises for each muscle group. All you need is 4 to 5 key exercises for large muscle groups and 2 to 3 exercises for smaller muscle groups. In this video, I will show you the best combination of exercises for each muscle group that will help you maximize your muscle growth. I'm Dr. Nash Jocic, former bodybuilding champion. I spent over 40 years in bodybuilding, and during that time I competed 46 times and won 17 titles. I have also trained over 3,000 clients and helped them to get in the best shape of their lives. By the way, I have published 10 ebooks which are fully loaded with detailed explanations about muscle growth, fat loss, training for beginners, nutrition, competitive bodybuilding, and everything you always wanted to know about muscle growth and fat loss. So let us dive into today's topic. I want to explain to you first what are the 3 key principles of exercise selection. So it's not just to do whatever exercise you have heard or you choose to do because you like them or you don't like some other exercises. It is important to understand why are we choosing some exercises rather than some other. So there are 3 key principles for exercise selection. Number 1 is importance of the balance of compound and isolation exercises. Number 2 is covering all the functions of the muscle that you're training. Number 3 is stretching versus contracted position. Now let me explain every single one of these. So why combination of isolation and compound exercises matters? So for example, it's important to understand that compound exercises allow you to use more muscle groups when you perform the exercise. There is a dominant one that you're targeting, like for example you do bench press, but you're also using your shoulders and your triceps. So this combination of 3 different muscle groups, again focus on chest, will allow you to lift heavier weights, so the load will be heavier, and in your lowering phase that will benefit you because you will be able to lower heavier load on your chest, with your chest, and actually stimulate more muscle growth that way. So compound exercises are essential for mechanical tension, therefore causing more muscle growth. Now when it comes to isolation exercises, like for example all type of curls, lateral raises, leg extensions, they're also important because they allow you, by targeting the single muscle directly, to stretch that muscle fully and cause again as much mechanical tension as possible during that stretching position, but also during contracting part of the repetition. This is the isolation exercise will help you to improve your symmetry and also your shape. Now, you cannot fully stretch your chest by doing bench press, but you can fully stretch your chest by doing dumbbell flies. And this is why, an example, why you should combine both of them. Because also, during the compound exercise, the weaker muscle will dominate because you will stop doing compound exercise the moment that the weakest muscle in the chain will stop. This is why you need to add isolation exercises for optimal muscle growth. Yes, you can grow doing only compound exercises, is not a problem, but I'm talking about optimal development of muscle growth. So if you want the best out of your workout, you need to do the combination of both. Now the second important principle of exercise selection is covering all functions of a muscle. For example, you have shoulders. So shoulders perform many different functions. They are front shoulder, lateral, and rear shoulder. So every single head of this group of muscle, shoulder muscles, requires different exercise because biomechanics of the front, for example, shoulder, are lifting your arm all the way up. The lateral, you need to lift arm to the side, by the rear shoulder, you need to move the elbow, you need to move the humerus backwards. So you need 3 different exercises for shoulders. If you miss one function, obviously you are going to miss complete development of your shoulders, but this applies to all other muscles. For example, when you talk about hamstrings, with hamstrings you have knee flexion, and you also have a hip extension. So these two are actually requiring, these 2 biomechanical functions are requiring 2 different exercises. So when it comes to knee flexion, which targets the short head of biceps femoris, you need leg curls. But there are other muscles like semitendinosus, semimembranosus, and also the longer part of biceps femoris, which will be more targeted by performing stiff leg deadlift. So you need to cover every function of the muscle. So when it comes to back, for example, you need pulling movements which target latissimus dorsi, teres major, teres minor, for example. But you also need rowing movements because they target trapezius, infraspinatus, supraspinatus, delt, the rhomboids, and rear delts. So covering all functions of the muscle is very important principle for maximum muscle development. Now, the third reason, the third principle for exercise selection is stretching versus contracted position. So every exercise biomechanically allows you to fully stretch your muscles and also to fully contract your muscles. So in some exercises, you cannot fully stretch your muscle. So for example, doing a bench press, you can't fully stretch the muscle because the bar will actually end up on your chest if you go all the way down to your chest, but you can still further stretch your chest, which bench press will never allow you. But this is the reason why you should do dumbbell flies or crossovers. They will allow you for full stretch. Now, when it comes to fully contracted position, which is now the concentric part of the exercise, which is obviously extremely important, not as important as the eccentric lowering, which contributes to 60 to 70% of muscle growth, while concentric contributes to 30 to 40, but they are still substantial, both of them. So in order to fully contract your muscle and to fully complete your concentric contraction, you need exercises like, for example, cable crossover for chest, because no other exercise will give you as much contraction, so that you can squeeze the muscle. You can even benefit a bit from that isometric part, and that will improve your mind-muscle connection as well. So it will help you to better focus on your muscle. So importance of stretching and contracting positions of the exercise are very important, and this is why you need to do combination of both compound and isolating exercises. So let us now look at every muscle group separately, and I will suggest you the best combination of exercises for maximum muscle growth. So let us start with chest. So I suggest, and I personally do, 4 to 5 exercises for chest. Exercise number 1 is barbell bench press. This is main chest muscle builder. Number 2 is incline dumbbell press, which is my favorite for upper clavicular section of your major pectoralis, which contributes to up to 20% to your major pectoralis. So it's very, very important to do these incline presses. I prefer dumbbells, so you can stretch more, you can even contract more. The third exercise is decline hammer press or any other decline machine press or a free weights press. So these are 3 compound exercises for chest. I also do, and I advise 2 flying exercises, isolating exercises. One is either dumbbell flies or pec deck machine. Pec deck will help you to fully contract for that concentric part because the tension will be equal throughout. And 5th exercise is cable crossovers, because that exercise actually hit your major pectoralis in different angle. Although there is only one major pectoralis, there are different directions in which we can move that muscle, and every direction benefit in slightly different way. So by doing flat, decline and incline presses or other isolated exercises, you make sure that you have used biomechanically every single angle position of your major pectoralis. So these 5 exercises is what I advise people to do for maximum muscle growth. Now when it comes to back, there are 5 exercises that I do and I also advise people to do. Number 1, the best back builder exercise according to me is pull-ups. So pull-ups are actually most effective for developing your latissimus and also your teres major and teres minor muscles at the back, which actually give you that V shape. Now, if you cannot do pull-ups, you can substitute that with pull down. So pull down again, I advise to the front because of the shoulder problem when you go behind the neck. For some people, it can be very bad. So to the front, wide grip. So this is the first exercise, pull-ups or pull-downs. Now the second exercise is barbell bent over rowing. I've been doing this over 40 years, and this is undisputed king of the thickness of your back. It's an exercise that actually targets your second biggest muscle on the back, which is trapezius, and also other muscles which are actually in the middle of your back, and they contribute to that depth. So barbell bent over rowing is the second one. Now the third exercise is again the pulling exercise. This time is close grip. This way you stretch your latissimus more, but especially teres major and minor, which you don't stretch as much as with wide grip. So pull downs, close grip to the front, obviously. Number 4 is cable rows. This is another fantastic exercise which helps you to, again, stretch a little bit more all these middle back muscles that contribute to thickness because you're using the close grip. So basically by using the close grip, you can stretch more your trapezius and other muscles which contribute to the thickness, and this will benefit you further. And fifth exercise that I prefer, I do, and I advise is hyperextension. So a lot of people will say, oh, but why not deadlift? I don't think that deadlift is a good exercise for bodybuilders because deadlift will ultimately thicken your midsection, your oblique muscles. And this is the last thing that you want. Unfortunately, a lot of people are doing it, and more people are ending up, especially competitive bodybuilders, with a big waist, and you can see those obliques hugely develop. This is the last thing that you want to do, or you want to keep that midsection as small as possible. So my advice is avoid deadlift. This exercise is not going to do anything to you. I never did it. So many professional bodybuilders never did it, had amazing back. You should not do it. It's also dangerous, and again, it will thicken your midsection, which will be there for good. It's not reversible. Now, quads. For quads, I do 4 exercises. Number 1, as many of you know, people who watch my other videos, are squats. Squats are the king of developing big quads, period. So if you can do squats, this will be the best exercise for your quads. The second exercise is leg press. A leg press is also very effective exercise, not as good as squats, but as the second exercise, I like to do leg press, which allows me to go much higher reps and use the overload principle even better. Leg press is, in a way, comparing to squats, an isolating exercise. Yes, using 2 joints, but it's different exercise. You can hit your hamstrings, your glutes, and your quads in a different way, but you will not use your lower back. So overall impact on the whole system is less. And this is probably why leg press will never give you the same results as squats. Third exercise in my program is walking lunges. I do them sometimes with weights, sometimes without weights. I use that for high reps, for like 30, 40 steps, which is very important for quads. And the last exercise in my program for quads, number 4, are leg extensions. Now, I also combine squats with hex squats. Occasionally, I would do hex squats instead of squats, but in that case, I would start with leg press, and my second exercise would be hex squats. So once again, 4 exercises, main key exercises: squats, leg press, lunges, and leg extensions. Now, when it comes to hamstrings, I do 2 exercises. I do leg curls, either lying or seated. I prefer to do the combination of those two to alternate them. And this exercise is mainly for biceps femoris short head because it's only active at knee. So this exercise activates knee flexion, and it will give you fantastic pump, and it will benefit you developing that shorter head of your biceps femoris. Now, second exercise is very important, often neglected by many, and this is stiff leg deadlifts. Now, this is now the exercise that activates hip extension. This exercise recruits biceps femoris, long head, semitendinosus, and semimembranosus. So if you see, this exercise is actually more important. The problem with this exercise is that not many people know how to do it. It's not deadlift, so you're not trying to lift as much weight as possible and bending your knees and just performing that so famous and popular deadlift for whatever reason, I don't know. This is a very intelligent exercise. Basically, you need to keep your legs straight. So how do you do that? The exercise is performed simply by holding the weight and then slowly start moving back with your hips, lowering the weight as far as it goes. The weight will not go down to the floor. The bar will go just below your knees if you do it properly, and you will still feel tremendous stretch in your hamstrings. So this exercise is, in a way, mainly eccentric exercise because you're getting that activation of hamstrings by lowering the weights. Now, when you start lifting the weights up, you will unavoidably use your back, lower back, but a little bit of your hamstrings. But the most important part is that eccentric. So you're lowering the weight. Don't go too heavy, but form is critical. So if you do this properly, you will benefit greatly from these 2 exercises: leg curls, seated or lying down, and also stiff, straight legs deadlift. Now, when it comes to calves are made of 2 major muscles. One is called gastrocnemius and another one is called soleus. The dominant one is gastrocnemius. So gastrocnemius is trained by standing calf raises, which is my favorite exercise, and I build big calves mainly because of doing that. The second exercise that I do, and I also advise clients to do and other people, is seated calf raises. Now, when you're in a seated position, you will activate more your soleus muscle, which is actually on the side of your calf, not at the back as gastrocnemius, but is also important, although it's not dominant muscle, but it's important because it will give you the fullness, especially of that outside part of your calves. When it comes to shoulders, there are 4 exercises that I perform in my shoulder workout, and I will suggest you to do the same. Number 1 is overhead press. You can do this with weights, free weights, dumbbells, barbells. You can do it with different type of machines. If you do with a barbell, make sure that you're not doing it behind the neck because it's very dangerous for your shoulder joint. There is something in the shoulder called acromion bone, and that acromion bone doesn't allow twisting the humerus back. If you do that, you will cause impingement, and a lot of people have come to me and asked me, Nash, I'm getting this funny feeling in my left, right shoulder, wherever, and I don't know where it comes from. And I said, I know where it comes from. I've seen you doing it behind the neck. Some people can do it with no problems, but a lot of people will actually cause injury with that. You will cause impingement of your bursa, and that may last for months. So if you do press with the barbell front, barbell press, dumbbell press and machines, as I said. This is the exercise that dominates, actually stimulates the growth of the front head, but also lateral and up to the point, the rear delts. Number 2, lateral raises. Lateral raises you can do with dumbbells, you can do it with machine. This is for lateral medial delt, which is very important because that lateral part of the deltoid is what is giving you width. So sometimes I even start with lateral raises because of that importance of lateral medial shoulder head. So lateral raises are key exercise. So you can alternate press with lateral raises as a first exercise. Number 3, for the rear delts, which are very important, they give you that fullness, that cup of your shoulders. You should do bent over lateral raises, or you can use a machine for rear delts and make sure that you hit and you feel rear deltoids. They're very important. So it's a very complicated muscle group, shoulders, 3 heads. I also do another exercise, which is for upper trapezius. I do either shrugs, or more often I do upright rows. I like upright rows because they not just use trapezius, activate trapezius muscles, but also give you extra bonus activity of front and especially lateral deltoids if you use a little bit wider grip of the bar. When it comes to biceps, I do 3 exercises. Number 1 is barbell curls. This is bread and butter for biceps, if you do it properly, of course. Number 2 is dumbbell curls. So dumbbell curls now are very important because they help you actually rotate your wrist. But by rotating your wrists, you are actually supinating fully your biceps muscles. So this one, you start from the position of dumbbells apparel. You start almost like hammer curls, and then when you go up, you supinate your wrists and you cause full supination on the top. Fantastic exercise, but sometimes I alternate this exercise with closed grip Scott curls. I like to use the biceps machines, and that exercise with the close grip actually stimulates more your outer biceps head, while barbell curls activate more your shorter biceps head. The third exercise, I do hammer curls. This is for brachialis and also brachioradialis. So this exercise will help you develop this bit of your arm, which is very powerful. Brachioradialis is a massive muscle which goes under your biceps and goes all the way up in the shoulder. So it's not only just developing the top part of your forearms, but also developing, pushing the biceps out, because on the way up to insertion in the origin in the shoulder, it goes under the biceps. So when that muscle grows, it actually pushes biceps out. Very important exercise. I personally don't do exercises for forearms because all the exercises for the back that I never use straps. I hold the bar when I'm doing chin-ups, pull-ups. I'm always without straps. Everything I do with the bar. So my forearms are developing fantastically without doing forearm exercises. And I also don't advise my clients to do that. I force them to do everything without straps. Now, when it comes to triceps has 3 heads. For that reason, you should do 3 exercises. I like to start with a slightly medium grip push down. And this exercise actually activates outer and medial part of your triceps. The second exercise should be either overhead dumbbell extension, overhead rope extension, or French press. But French press needs to be performed in a way that your the bar ends up behind your head, and you actually stretch fully your long head of the triceps, because these exercises are all for the long head. So-called skull crushers, when you keep your bar coming down to your forehead, is not the exercise for long head. It's the same exercise like push downs, but unfortunately almost nobody knows that. So if you really want to benefit from that so-called skull crusher, nothing to do with your skull, by the way, you have to get that bar back. And when you do forearm overhead dumbbell extension, for example, this is where you also benefit because you fully stretch the long head. When you do that, you're going to feel the biggest head of your triceps, the most important, the long head. You're going to feel only when you get that elbow and dumbbell behind your head or when you're lying down and get all the way behind your head. The third exercise I do and I advise is close grip row push down. Now this exercise stimulates the medial head of the triceps, so you need to stimulate all three of them, and this choice is the best choice because you're actually hitting every single head. So medium grip push downs, overhead dumbbell or rope extensions, and also rope push downs. When it comes to abs, I do and I advise two exercises. First one is crunches. You either use Roman chair or you lie down on the floor and put your legs on the bench. The importance of this position, doing the crunches the way that I'm doing it, is critical because you need to stretch your abdominals when you go down on the floor or on the Roman chair. You need to stretch fully your abdominals all the way down. Abdominal movements, its trajectory is very short. So you don't have to go all the way up because that all the way up is not going to be using only abdominals. In the second part of that trajectory, you will be using more your hip flexors. So when you do this, as you can see in the video, you should just go as much up as your abdominals will allow. Now, the second exercise that I do is hanging leg raises. This is very difficult exercise. Not many people can do it. But the most important part of this exercise is that when you lift your legs up, you move your...
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
So the second exercise is hanging leg raises. And when you lift your legs up, you also have to make sure that you're lifting your hips up, because lifting the legs up is not purely abdominal involvement. It mainly flexors are lifting your legs up. But when you move the hips up, this is when you actually contract your abdominals. You can also do this exercise lying down on the incline bench with your head up. And then when you go up, you make sure that you are curling your hips up, not just lifting your legs up. Most of the people are doing that exercise wrongly because they're lifting only their legs up, or basically just using hip flexors. So this would be the best selection of exercises for all major muscle groups and also smaller muscle groups. And now I want to talk to you about 3 major mistakes that people do when they select exercises in order to develop their muscles. Number 1 major mistake is doing too many isolation lifts for big muscles. I've seen so many people recently, in recent few years, doing so many isolation cable exercises, for example, for chest, for back, is only one arm, cable this, cable that, cable for chest, this angle, that angle. I don't know where that comes from, but isolation exercises, as I explained in the beginning, we are not very effective when it comes down to overload. They have their benefits, but they are not key exercises for optimal muscle growth. You have to do compound exercises. Number 2 major mistake is skipping stretch position exercises. Full stretch position exercises are extremely important because they allow the full extension of the muscle under the load, meaning the highest possible mechanical tension. If the muscle is not fully stretched under the load, for example, chest, when you perform dumbbell flies or cable crossovers, you will never benefit 100% from your workout. Number 3 major mistake is thinking that small muscles need the same volume as big ones. Often people train biceps with 5 movements, thinking, oh, this is how it should be. So you have to understand that the smaller muscles like biceps, triceps, shoulders, especially if you look at shoulders as the three-headed muscle, which are actually small, they are not very big. You have to understand that you cannot do the same number of exercises as major muscle groups, and also you cannot do the same number of sets. So these muscles, the smaller muscles, especially biceps, triceps, radiobrachialis, deltoids, front, lateral, back, they are also used while you're performing compound exercises. They are not fully trained, but they are used. I get those questions often. Oh, but this, why you're training biceps separate when you're training back, you're using your bicep. Yes, you're using it, but you're not fully training it, especially if you remember number 2 major mistake, skipping stretching position as a key factor in optimal mechanical tension. So basically, those muscles are involved, but they are not fully trained. Because they are involved, you should do less exercises and also less sets. I advise for large muscle groups 20-25 sets, but for smaller muscle groups, I advise 8 to 12 sets. The reason being is that they have been used already, not fully trained, but used. So I acknowledge that they are used, and therefore we're going to train them with a little bit less sets and exercises, but we will make sure that we do it in perfect form and we fully extend and fully contract, especially when it comes to biceps, triceps, lateral deltoids, and rear delts. So, guys, I hope that you have got a message, and let me just recap quickly for you. As I said, big muscle groups need 4 to 5 key exercises. They have to be the most effective exercises, which I have mentioned and explained why to you in this video. Smaller muscle groups, smaller muscles, they should be trained with 2 to 3 different exercises, but also key exercises. And I also explained to you which ones are the best for biceps and triceps, for example. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe to my channel, also like the video and send me your comments, as we are having fantastic discussion on our members page. And a lot of people are commenting on videos and getting lots of response to that, so you will benefit from others as well. I also get involved as much as I can. And let me remind you once again that I've published for you 10 ebooks which are fully loaded with essential information about muscle growth, fat loss, nutrition, training for beginners, and everything you always wanted to know about bodybuilding, muscle growth, and fat loss. Also, if you see my video in which I introduce my other services, you will find a way to work directly with me one-to-one, because I also offer different services on my website, which are personalized training programs, personalized nutritional programs, telephone consultations, online coaching, and also personal training one-to-one with people who are in London. So guys, until the next video, take care of yourselves.